the special meeting of the Sewer Authority Midcoast. May I have roll call, please?
Director Reddick,
Here.
Director Marshall,
Here.
Director Dye,
Here.
Director Penrose,
Here.
Director Sader Carter,
Present.
and Director Blanchard.
Here.
Welcome. Do we have any public comment? Oral communication? There's no consent agenda, so we'll move on to regular business. 3A, discuss and provide direction to staff concerning discrete tasks for consulting services.
Thought we wanted to go to closed session and then come to open session.
Should we do that?
I thought that was the intent.
All right,
Well,
let's go to
number-
closed
yes,
session. End of open session.
Really
In
bad,
open
okay.
session, there is nothing to
And it was
report out
predicted.
from closed session. So we're here to discuss and provide direction to staff concerning discrete tasks for consulting services. Anybody want to talk about that?
I think we had a good discussion. I think we identified some things, and Keishan, you're in agreement with us on this?
Yes.
We want to start out with asking you if you are in concurrence with our suggestions. That would be the important thing to do, and we'll tell you what they are.
I need to know what they are.
Or is that what you were talking?
Yes.
Okay,
The board.
so yes, what,
Yeah, the board.
Yeah.
The
what
board
Chris
records.
told me about.
I think I'll
definitely.
just read out what we've got,
Okay,
what we could, because it'll be clear then, hopefully.
perfect.
Review the organization and structure of SAM and provide recommendations to the Board of Directors on improvements to achieve maximum organizational effectiveness and efficiency. And under that, we've got 6 bullet points. We can give you a copy of this,
Okay, good,
rather than have you have to take notes.
okay,
Review, revise, and bring current SAM policies and procedures. Review the organization, including staffing, job assignments, supervisory structure, needs process improvements, and preventive maintenance program, BMPs. Provide recommendations to the Board of Directors on structural changes to provide for maximum organizational effectiveness and efficiency. A lot of words, but
That is a
you
lot of
understand
work.
what they mean.
yes,
It's basically in 3 buckets.
Right, well, this is the first bucket we're discussing right now.
We're still in the first bucket.
Draft a written contract defining roles, responsibilities, and final decision-making authority between SAM and member agencies for the board and member agency managers' review. Provide training to Board of Directors on board staff interactions. Assess the operations of the finance department and provide recommendations on delineation of staff duties and compliance with audit recommendations and timely AP processing. So that's our first bucket of things. We'd like to ask you to do that in conjunction with providing consultation to the board with regards to hiring process for the general manager. In other words, concurrently, because that's something we've got to get started on fairly quickly.
yes,
And then the last part of it is to provide expert project consultation, support, and recommendations to SAM. Provide independent review and recommendations on condition assessment and replacement of the force main. Review and assess the recycled water project and provide recommendations.
It's a lot.
oh, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
It'll keep us busy for a while.
Yeah,
But we do want you to review the list and see like what's doable under an initial contract. And what we might have to, visit as a next phase. So we're kind of phasing it and, based on your extensive experience, we would like your input on refining this to make sure it's doable, that there's, sufficient time to address these, whether we need to, further prioritize based on your own experience and your time available, et cetera. So
Okay,
we do want your input on this.
thank you, I appreciate that. Obviously, it's a big list right now, and I think exactly what you said, I'm gonna have to step back and look at how quickly we can do it, and talk to you and see how quickly you want it done as well. Cause one thing I do have available is, besides myself, I have 4 other people that I work with, that work under as sub-consultants to me, that have expertise in, when I feel like I'm maybe over my head in process control, I can bring somebody in, or instrumentation and control systems, or finance is one of them, things that we can get some help with. So it may not be me specifically, but if you contract with wastewater management specialists, which is what we would do, then we have other assets that we can bring in and help us accomplish this as well.
What are your other sub-consultants?
There's a company, a group called Technical Edge, which is instrumentation control. Wet Technologies does process control. A consultant by the name of Dub Moto, which is they do a lot of training type thing. And I also, Tanner Pacific is a construction management firm that I work very closely with. Who am I forgetting? Oh, DNS Strategies is the finance and, finance and organizational management group.
So basically, rather than consulting with you, we're actually consulting, you would enter into a contract with your consulting business?
With my business, yes. Yeah, and that's a lot cleaner from the CalPERS standpoint too. You do not wanna hire me directly, we're hiring the firm.
Chris, is that something you anticipated?
The scope would be with the consulting agency, yes.
And Kishan would be
And
kind of our
I'm-
direct point of contact.
I'm the direct point of contact. I typically do 90% of it, but occasionally I'll get into something and say, hey, you know what, there's somebody that's smarter than me at this, and bring them on board, because nobody knows everything. So, I like to use those assets that are available to us.
And we had talked about the number of hours that you'd be available. Can you tell us again what that,
I'm fairly flexible. I do have other contracts, but being able to give 25 to 30 hours a week is definitely in the cards.
Okay, and
And that will vary week to week. There may be weeks I'm doing
Right.
40, 50 hours here, and you won't see me for a week. There are 3 events you need to be aware of that I will not be here for. Next week I'm out of town. In September, the last 2 weeks of September, I am celebrating my 40th wedding anniversary, and we're gonna be in Europe.
all right,
And then in February, I have a week of vacation planned. But other than that, I work.
And so the, hours that CalPERS has a limit on, that doesn't apply to your consultants, so it gives you, more flexibility in terms of managing them a little bit while they do the bulk of the work, but we need to talk about a payment kind of schedule
Okay.
then to see what we're running into.
Exactly. My billing rate right now typically is,
I thought we weren't gonna do that.
what's that?
Go ahead.
Let's,
Thought we were gonna wait
I
and
tell you what,
discuss that
let's
in a-
discuss that off camera, not that I'm trying to
Okay.
not be transparent, but if we're going to be perhaps doing some negotiation,
Negotiation.
it would be better to,
We'll hold off on that
be able to
then.
give them a final number.
Okay.
Are you in concurrence with that, Chris?
one of the things that we, are gonna be looking at as very important is, status reports.
Okay.
And we'd like to think in terms of monthly updates on what's going on.
I would think that's minimum,
Mhm.
you know. So,
Well, we meet twice a month, so.
maybe twice a month, so, yeah, plan on monthly, and if there's something that comes up, I think you need to know of it sooner
Absolutely.
than you
That'd be great.
Yeah.
come in and make,
Yeah, at a minimum, it would be like our second meeting of the board,
okay,
which would be the
Fourth Monday.
Yeah,
4th Monday,
yeah.
okay,
Or thereabouts, depending on holidays and
oh, yeah.
stuff.
Not a problem. It works very well.
Eric, do you have anything?
No, he actually answered a couple questions that I had, because I was wondering if it's gonna be a firm related or whether it was going to be individual, so that helped a lot.
Okay, so what's the next step after?
Yeah.
So Chris, what's the next step?
Madam Chair, the direction would be to direct the general manager to go ahead and talk to Mr. Child, wastewater management services, to come up with a scope of work and maybe come back to the board with a recommendation on how to move forward.
So moved.
So moved,
Second.
yes.
Thank you.
When do you think you'd be able to get back to us? It'd be good to get this thing rolling, that's all I'm thinking, and I don't mind setting up a special meeting if we need it.
Dependent on the dollar amount of the contract, if it's something within the general manager's authority to get started, the general manager can provide it in his next report to the board, but it would happen before the board meeting.
Mhm.
And so I think it would just depend on the gentleman's. It looks like you're both gone next week, right?
Correct,
Okay.
yeah.
So the following week, we can get together,
Well,
We can even talk
Keisha won't be
tomorrow
here
or-
for 2 weeks.
2 weeks I'm not here, but we can get together in the next 2 days, if
It
you're
looks like
available.
our
I
next
can-
meeting
we
is the
talk on phone
26th.
anytime.
Yeah, or
We
I'm
have a
available
dele-
here, Friday, Saturday I'm available,
Okay.
so we can discuss it.
Yeah.
I will
We could
set up
discuss
everything.
it and maybe get back to us before.
Yeah,
And we have a
I-
delegated
Yeah.
authority of about 30,000.
As big as that list sounds, we may want to do a staged approach where we look at it,
Yes,
you know,
I think that makes
put
sense.
something together, do an initial evaluation, and then come back with what it, you know, a longer term plan, because
Absolutely.
That sounds good.
That sounds
We
right.
put as many things in the list as we could possibly think of,
We
Really?
took a lot out too.
but we did take some things out.
all right, fair enough. Yeah, we can start tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm available,
Great.
let me know.
Great, so sometime in the next week, we may hear that things are a go. That'd be great.
Yeah,
We'll be
with-
able to send you an email, because both of us will not be physically present, so.
Yeah, with your authority, you
Excellent.
just need to let us know what's going on.
Sure.
Great.
And Tim will be in
Perhaps.
charge in the interim, so.
Uh-oh.
He loves it. Look, you can beat up on me.
Yes.
I
Excellent.
look forward to working with you.
We're very
think it's gonna
pleased
be
to
a
have you on board.
Fun challenge and a lot of things we can do
I
together.
have a serious question.
Okay,
Do you like chocolate?
of course I like chocolate.
Oh, good. Then I'll make sure we have it.
Fair enough, especially dark.
Okay.
Gotta get those polyphenols.
All right, well, good. I'm really pleased. I'm hoping things can go well in the next couple of days and we'll hear positive things.
Sounds
We
good.
all
We
are.
will make it happen.
Yeah.
Great.
Right.
Thank you.
And we appreciate Tisha's role in making all this happen,
Mhm.
I have to say.
Of course.
Yes.
Yes, very much.
We have a good team here,
Yeah.
so I think you'll find it, you know, familial. Yeah,
Good, I love it.
Great,
Okay,
thank you.
so you know, you
Yes.
have enough direction.
We have direction, I have direction.
Great, we do.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna move on to 3B.
there's more?
Executive
Yes.
review.
Okay, this is for the operations.
I have a suggestion. Instead of jumping, well, Keisha,
Yes,
could I ask you to talk to Dan about, a outline and suggestions for the, executive recruiting, so that he's working with us from the very beginning? We had talked about 2 recruiting firms, and you were going to be looking at those
correct.
at the operations committee, so we should bring the rest of the board up to date and then go from there.
Yeah, so the idea was to send out an RFP to a couple of recruitment consultants. We already had experience with one of them in the past, who recruited our past general manager. That plus we have 2 other firms, sorry, I have 3 firms in mind. So I was planning on sending out the RFP and then at least getting proposals by the time I get back from vacation, then we know what their dollar amount is and what is their scope of work. So we are expecting that give them a whole month of August 30th, they come back with their proposal. And then I can bring it to the board in September. So during that process, I will work with Dan Chad to see how we can go ahead, but at least we can send out the RFP because RFP is elaborate. I can ask him to take a look at the RFP and and tweak it a little bit, whatever needs to be done, and then we send it out to the consultants.
Mhm.
So that way we don't lose time, because otherwise we'll be losing 2 weeks at least.
Good.
It'll be in the hands of the consultants, and then they'll be able to do their due diligence and then come back with a,
So, I mean, it seems to make sense to me that like Tim might also take a look at the,
oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's definitely a part of our team.
alright,
And also Chris Boucher.
Yeah, and when you say bring it back to the board, we had discussions about whether the board ops committee would be reviewing the applicants prior to the whole board. And I'm not sure how the board feels about that.
No, at this stage, when I said bring it back to the board, it'll be bring back the names of the recruitment consultants and their dollar amount, so that the board can give
Okay.
approval to go forward with a particular
Got it.
recruiting consultant.
Sorry, I
Yeah, I mean,
misunderstood.
that was, I was not very clear, I
That's
guess.
okay,
So that's the
we're not
part.
addressing the final process at
Yeah.
this time.
right.
So then it goes into the recruitment consultant's hands, and then he sends out advertisements or whatever his contacts, and then we finalize a list of
Right.
candidates. That time,
Sounds good.
we can
Right.
decide whether the board ops committee or take it straight to the board.
Right.
So we still have
A
time.
lot
for-
will depend on how many applications there
Exactly.
are.
Yep, so we still have
well,
time
you
to
might be
reach
able to
that stage.
winnow them down, but I mean, I think,
Well, if we're winnowing from 3 down to 2, you know, or hopefully it'll be better than that, but
Okay, so at the moment, I would need approval from the board so that I can start the recruitment process.
So
yes.
moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
We're adjourned.
Okay,
That's it.
anything else, Keisha?
I believe,
All right,
that's about it.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Well,
Dan.
it's nice to see things moving forward.
Yes.
It's great to have you involved.
Thank you very much, I really look forward to it.
we do too.
Me too.